I don't think a single investor should have to roll the dice on their financial freedom.
Troublesome tenants. So this is a problem that landlords have dealt with forever, since time immemorial. And the way we used to solve the problem was saying, you really didn't create the kind of trouble where I had a statutory basis to kick you out. But man, all the other tenants hate you. Or man, I do know what those 5-minute stops with 30 of your friends in an hour means. Drug transactions, for those of you who don't know that. All these reasons that you might say, I'm going to move this tenant out without ruining their rental record. You'd give them a no-cause notice. That strategy's gone. So now what happens is, we talked about that you have to renew that lease or let it roll over into a month-to-month, unless that tenant causes 3 separate violations during that 12-month period, and it's a rolling 12 months. And what you do is, at the 3rd violation, you give them a 90-day notice that you're not going to renew their tenancy. And that tells them that now you don't have to renew and you don't have to pay. They just have to go at the end of that 90 days. Now, the type of violations you can give notices for are all the things that you've ever given notices before that are laid out in Chapter 90. That's when people don't pay their rent, when they have animals they're not supposed to, when they move somebody in they're not supposed to, when they're not paying their late fees, the for-cause notices. All the different reasons why we could give people notices under statute, those fall into the count. And they don't all have to be the same 3 reasons. It can be any 3 reasons. The other reasons are all the different way our tenants violate their lease. Now, this is another example of when unintended consequences arise. Because my strategy to landlords now, and believe me, this goes against my personal belief system, but it's my strategy for landlords. And that is, start noticing your tenants for every violation. That doesn't mean you need to terminate them, but it means you've got yourself locked and loaded, and if you want to terminate them, that choice is available to you. The biggest single opportunity that comes to mind is if you have rental property, and if you have a number of rental property, I'm going to guess that probably half your tenants actually pay by the 1st day of the month, and most of the tenants pay before they hit the late fee, the 5th day of the month. But their rent is due on the 1st day. If that tenant doesn't pay by the 1st, you give them a warning notice on the 2nd, 3 notices within 12 months, they're now eligible for a no-cause eviction notice. Now, how nice is that? And you're laughing, I see that. So you have these limitations on giving these people notices. Your no-cause, right to give no cause unless it resets for some reason, like you change the configuration of the housing. They change it. And I don't mean when the kids move out. I mean when the tenants on the contract change. Those are examples of how the Senate bill changes things. For most people, if you have stable housing, it doesn't change a lot of problems, except for the folks maybe you wanted to move out who create the weird problems or too much noise at night or make all your neighbors mad. The other part of the Senate bill is how it affects your ability to raise rent. So now here, there's several parts of this, and one is that you can only do rental raises once a year with your existing tenants. And you can only do rental raises at rollover, at a turnover from tenant to tenant when you didn't create that turnover yourself by giving a no-cause eviction notice. In other words, you can't create your own situation to get outside of the rent cap. Now, it used to be, the strategy was, if my rent, if somebody comes in and talks to me and their rent is $400, $500, $600 under market, and that actually happens a lot. It happens a lot for 2 reasons. One is, you know, hey, she's a great tenant. She's been there for 10 years, never have to touch the unit. I'm going to rent to her at the same rent I gave it to her 10 years ago. The other way it happens, one of my landlords called me today. Hey, we had a whole deck collapse, had to exclude the tenant from the backyard, so we knocked their rent down for $500 a month. We just built a new deck. We'd like to raise the rent back up $500 to market. Can I do that? Nope. They started the deck before they knew about rent control. So plan your rent adjustments. Now, the point was already made, and I think it's true, that the example was, if your property is properly marketed, properly rented now, that 10.3% is not going to get in your way of making a good return on your property.
I don't think a single investor should have to roll the dice on their financial freedom